Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular episode, I'm going to do a video on what was specifically requested last week or 2 weeks ago from one of my viewers. And by the way, if any of you are dying to know something about anything regarding immigration, there is no subject on immigration that I cannot do a video on. Just send me a request and I'll be happy to fit it in. So this particular viewer wanted to know if marriage petitions are getting harder to get approved with Trump doing everything that he's doing. And the answer is yes. There's been a lot of cases that have gone to court and have, struck down what Trump has tried to do, whether it be asylum or different kinds of, bans and so forth. And so one way that he has, at least in part, succeeded in trying to limit immigration is to make everything more difficult. So whereas before, for example, we could submit a petition and have exhibits A, B, C, D, and sufficient legal argument. Now that goes to immigration, and they'll either deny it or they will issue what's called an RFE, which is a request for evidence. And the request for evidence will list 32 different things that need to be shown, even though you might have already proven it, even though you already submitted evidence on it, and even though it is clearly not an issue. So given that I said that, the answer to whether a marriage petition is more difficult, the answer is yes. So it doesn't mean it can't be done. It doesn't mean that it can't properly be prepared. But instead of, for example, having exhibits A, B, C, D, and E, you might need to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Instead of having in the legal argument, a paragraph and a half on the bona fides of the marriage, you might have to have 3 paragraphs on it. Instead of submitting, just documents showing you're not a public charge, you might have to submit legal argument and sufficient other documents to show you're not a public charge. So if you have in mind that essentially immigration now is trying to deny everything and anything that they can without changing the law, then that just means that it just has to be prepared stronger. It has to be prepared in such a manner that, if they do issue the RFE, it just has to be responded to. So yes, well, instead of going one time around the track, we now have to go 2 or 3 times around the track. Ultimately, if Trump can't change the law, the adjudicator still needs to follow the law, even though, it's making it a bit more difficult for us, which is fine. If we have to prepare things with more evidence, more legal argument, and with the anticipation that an RFE is coming, then it's just the way it is these days. And, someday it may go back, but right now, if the law is the law, it can be prepared in such a manner. And if it is denied, and it's denied through an abuse of discretion, meaning that the adjudicator just randomly denied it arbitrarily without any legal reasoning as to why, then you can do a motion to reopen. You can ultimately appeal. You could go directly to federal court. And if it gets into federal court because of an arbitrary abuse of discretion, you can then also request attorney's fees for having to get to that point. So there are lots of remedies and lots of ways of getting a petition through immigration. You just have to understand it's a bit harder than it used to be, which is fine. It keeps us on our feet and keeps a nice challenge. But if in the end it is improperly denied, it'll go up on appeal. And then the judge, the federal judge, if it goes to federal court, will decide how and what is arbitrary and whether it was improperly denied. So given that, don't be dissuaded to apply for what you're legally entitled to apply for because of the current political climate. Just be sure that it is prepared better than it would have been prepared previously, and it is prepared stronger than it was previously prepared, and it should be good to go. If you have questions, if you like the video, put a thumbs up, and more on the coming videos next week. Thank you.